I like want to know the hot goss about Biden. I'm for some reason I have this theory that he's trying to give the middle finger to the Democratic Party because of kind of how they stabbed him in the back. And his behavior over the last couple of months has been like, what are you doing? And
Yeah.
from the point that like Trump visited him in the White House and he was grinning like crazy in front of that roaring fire, I was like, what the heck? He looks like exuberant that Trump is there. There's a conspiracy theory floating around that he voted for Trump. I don't know about that. But anyway, I'm just curious, like, do you think do you think that he is with some of these like weird things that he's doing, the pardon after he said he wouldn't, and like to Dan's point earlier, he's just like it's like he I don't know if he doesn't care anymore, if he's trying to give the middle finger, or if this is his version of like, I'm burning it down on my way out. I just
Yeah.
would be curious to hear your thoughts on his mindset.
Awesome question, Joy. Thank you. Dan.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if he voted for Trump. I think he had a lot riding on if she won, because it would continue his legacy of the programs that he passed and the things that he's done. She would build on them. I think he's so prideful and he is aware of history that I can't imagine being this missing in action is a calculated plan of like screw the party, because I think this is going to be part of his legacy now, that once he stopped running in July, he largely disappeared from the scene. Some of that was obviously because he was no longer the nominee and he needed to give Harris the spotlight. But he has been so missing in action. We've said this before. He still hasn't addressed the Ukraine escalation. With Syria, I think he spoke very briefly, but there have been things happening on his watch where traditionally a president would step forward and even a post-election press conference.
Yeah.
And he's not doing any of this at all. He's letting Trump completely own the spotlight. The only thing I can think of is it's the same reason he didn't do a lot of the things when, early in his presidency. He can't do it, or he can, but they don't know, will today be a bad day? And if we put him out there, and like he was in the debate,
Yeah.
where everybody saw it, you can't really spin it, or they tried, but no one believes it, that they don't want to end his presidency with one last humiliation. So they've
Right.
just made the decision to keep him away. And to me, I've been sad about it. I've been angry about it. Just really disappointed as a Democrat.
On the Biden stuff, like I agree largely with Dan on this. I think that Biden is a guy who has always been concerned about his legacy and what he's doing. And that's why I think when we talked about the pardons and everything else, if I were him, I'd spend the last 36 days doing things to ingratiate yourself with these coalitions on the left that are critical to the Democratic Party. I don't want him to do them, just so we're clear for the record, so no one says that. But that's what he needs to do. He is a guy that loves institutions. He loves the process, right? So he wants to go out with a sense of, I did this, but I did it the right way. And again, I think the Hunter Biden probably will be part of his legacy that he's not happy about, but it is what it is. But I think that there's an element of what he can and cannot physically and mentally do that's overriding this.
I don't have a perfect clarity into this. I can tell you, Joe Biden, as Sean and Dan both said, he cares about his legacy. He really does feel like it was the wrong thing to force him out, and that he would have done better. He had no confidence that Kamala Harris could beat Donald Trump ever in any part of the process, and was forced into endorsing her, even though he didn't want to, and most of her people didn't want him to. And I think he feels kind of frustration that he's not given enough credit for what he accomplished as president. It wasn't that long ago that Democrats in the media were saying he was the most accomplished president since Roosevelt. And to go from that to a guy forced off the ticket, I think is a pretty humbling thing. And this is a guy who cares about legacy, as Sean said, but he's so prideful. He's so prideful. And I think what he's going through now is, rather than being president for 4 more years, he's facing a very different short-term future, which is so different than the life he's lived since his 20s, where he's, except for the brief period between being vice president and president, he's been in public office for decades. And I think you combine his decline in mental acuity with the realization of moving out of the White House, moving back home, not having, thousands of people working for him, not having any official title, and probably too old to do the stuff he did after the vice presidency, right? He's not going to be setting up foundations and centers. And that's a lot to process. So someone with a mental decline processing all that, I think some of the things you cited very astutely are just manifestations of how difficult this moment is for him. And remember that a lot of people in the party do blame him. In fact, to my surprise, they blame him so far, in my experience, substantially more than they blame Kamala Harris. And so he hears that. He's shielded from some of it, but he hears that. And his view is, why are you blaming me? I was a very successful president. I thought I should still be the nominee. I told people it shouldn't be Kamala Harris because she couldn't win. And then you disregarded me, kicked me off the ticket, picked her, and now Trump's going to be president again. So that's a lot to deal with for, again, a very prideful guy.